Okay, Year 11, so this is going to be a quick-ish revision lesson or revision video on newspapers and industry. So when you're thinking about industry, you should explore production, distribution, circulation, and regulation. Production is the way in which newspapers and news stories are gathered, and how they're created and who creates them. So during the production process, there is journalists go out and research, they go out and talk to people and interview people, and then they create the news story. They often use a news library, a photo library, to get the photos to go with the news articles. Once they've written the article and included the image to go with it, or images to go with it, it then goes to an editor who decides on whether that story is going to need changing, adapting. It gets checked, fact-checked usually. It needs to be fact-checked because journalists could write falsehoods in the article. And then finally it goes to print or goes onto the website. Obviously, if it is a breaking news story, they might just release a headline with an image with very little else going with it, just reporting in a general manner what has just happened and what they've heard on the ground. Distribution is the way in which newspapers or news stories are sent to the public. Originally, when it was print newspaper, again, you would have the news stories produced, it would go to the editor would then send it to print. It would take a lengthy process in a large factory for the newspapers to be printed. And then the distribution side of it would be the newspapers being bundled up and being put into vans and sent across the country to newsagents, supermarkets, etc. Nowadays, obviously, it's distributed a lot more, news is distributed a lot more on social media and websites and apps. So it's a lot quicker, a lot easier, and it fits into the 24/7, 24 hours of a day, 7 days of a week news cycle. Circulation is how many people are reading it. So circulation used to be how many people are buying the newspaper. Now it's how many clicks or how many page views a story gets, and they also include how many shares on social media a news article gets. Finally is the regulation side of things. Now, regulation is quite a complicated situation, as always, but it's regulated by a company called the Independent Press Standards Organization. If you look here, this is the Independent Press Standards Organization. They take up investigations where there's serious concerns about journalists and members' behavior, and also breaches of the editor's code. One of the major stories that happened that has really affected The Sun is the phone hacking scandal. The phone hacking scandal was when newspapers like The Sun, but mainly News of the World, which was owned by Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, who owns News UK, which then in turn owns The Sun. In the phone hacking scandal, phones of very famous people were hacked and stories were leaked to the press. So that meant that private conversations were hacked. The major problem was Millie Dowler's phone being hacked when she was a missing child of 13. Her phone was hacked, so voicemail messages were being picked up. This then looked like she was still alive, and parents still had hope that she was still alive when in fact she had been murdered. It has now impacted the newspaper to the point that Prince Harry is brought in a case that goes to the High Court next year. They are losing a lot of money because a lot of people are disgusted in what they did. It has had a massive effect on The Sun and News Corp. The parent company, as it says here in an article on the Guardian website, the company is paying 51.6 million in costs. And obviously that could have a massive impact. They are a multi-billion pound company. However, this is having serious impacts on them. So this is production, distribution, circulation, and regulation. News Corp are the company that owns News UK. Let me just go here. News Corp are the company that owns News UK. They also they are regulated by Ipso, but this is independent. It's journalists basically regulating themselves. So obviously there are concerns about that. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. If I can get off this pen. Okay. No, it's not letting me. I've not done this before. Okay, sorry, I was having trouble with getting rid of the pen there. Okay, so if we have a look at News Corp, they are a conglomerate, which means it's an example of horizontal integration. They've got lots of different businesses under one huge company, which can be a possible implication. If you have a look, these are a lot of the companies that they own. You have TV companies like Foxtel. You have publishers of books like HarperCollins. You have newspapers like the New York Post, the Sunday Times, the Sun. You also have things like the Dow Jones, which is to do with the stock market. So they own a lot of different types of business. And if one person owns a lot of different types of business, or one company, News Corp, owns a lot of different types of businesses, this can cause problems, especially with relation to bias of news. So as we know, the Sun is a right-wing newspaper. It supports conservative with a small c values, and therefore supports conservative beliefs. So think about the impact of ownership of a large company like this, and try and remember some of the other businesses that they own. As you know, it uses many different platforms, which is an example of technological convergence. The newspaper is available on print. They have a website. You can go on it on Snapchat. There is an app for your phone. It's on TikTok. It was on Instagram. I'm not sure if it is now. It's now on X. Sorry, that should say X, not Twitter. It's on X. And there is an app for your tablet as well. So let's go and have a look at the Sun website. Let's see if we can get on it now. Hurrah, there we go. So here is the Sun website. Yesterday we looked at it, and as we knew, there was an article on the front page about Prince Harry. Again, there is an article about Prince Harry on the front page here. They like to do articles about Prince Harry because he's a bit of an outlier in the royal family. Also, his wife, Meghan Markle, is a celebrity. She was in a TV program called Suits. They call it a faux royal tour. They like to, because remember, the Sun is right wing. They will make comments about Meghan Markle because of her mixed heritage, the fact that she accused the royal family of racism. The Sun love the royal family. So as you can see, there's lots of articles about the royals. We've got articles here. Very simple, more photos. Remember, it's image-led rather than text-led. They like to talk about the arguments and the issues between the prince and his father. So there's a nice simple timeline for people to read about that. And as you can see, it's a lot about Prince Harry. Also on the front page, you've got a lot of puns making their point. I presume that is a pun on making their point. They like to pun a lot. Again, yesterday we looked at the fact that on my home computer, I had targeted advertisements for Adobe Photoshop. As you can see here, I've got a targeted advert for camera equipment, which ties into my algorithms. It will pick up on what I look at on the internet. So looking through their pages, I will come back to the website in a little bit more detail on a separate video. So going back to here, you must mention technological convergence. And why is it important? Why is it important to have so many different platforms? Well, obviously it's important to have it available on so many different platforms because you want news as it happens, and technology allows that. Being able to get an update on on your Apple Watch or whatever smartwatch you have, having a smartphone and a notification pop up about a big news event, you are in the know early. You can then create personal relationships with other people by talking about events as they happen. People like to share them on social media. I will give you the example of what happened the other day again. A famous music producer died at a youngish age at 62, which is young. And I got 3 or 4 people sending me the Guardian article and the BBC article, just forwarded it to me, telling me that Steve Albini had died. This is what newspapers like The Sun rely on. They rely on people sharing the article as it happens. The first person to get it often feels like they're the one with the power and the control of the information, and they can create those personal relationships with people by talking about it. Also, they need to reach younger audiences. Older audiences read the newspaper and still buy the newspaper. Younger audiences, you want things for free. You want information that's quick, easy to understand and digest. So by having the news on TikTok and Instagram, you reach a wider age demographic and a global rather than just national audience. People from all around the world can now read The Sun. And as I said, audiences can engage with the news by retweeting, reposting, and sharing and build those personal relationships. If we look at their TikTok account, as you can see, the first 6 articles the 5 of them are about television or celebrities. 1 is about the royal family and 1 is about the crown, which is also about the royal family. So they're highlighting those stories that they think people care about. If you look here, their top stories are about I'm a celebrity and then the war in Israel. So it shows you that they are prioritizing TV over world events such as the war in Israel. On the app, you can add your own news so that you only see the news articles that you're really interested in. Again, that allows them to pick up on your algorithms and give you sponsored advertising, which targeted advertising. The targeted advertising then means they get more revenue, and more revenue means they get more money. You get a lot of language that is inflammatory and emotive, major, capitalizing hours, crashes, which is quite an emotive word when you're talking about airports and planes, and this pandemonium. It's very hyperbolic, it's very emotive. And on the Sun's X account, they promote a lot of things about how to get money off bills, how to save money, because a lot of their audiences are the lower demographic, C2DE, unskilled workers, people who aren't working. So obviously they are trying to help out, show that they're helping out their readers by giving them advice on how to save money. People identify through personal identity through the My News. It's all about trying to get your information, to sell your information to advertisers and get that targeted advertising, because otherwise they can't survive, because as we know, they are going to lose 66 million because of the phone hacking scandal. So there's a quick run through of industry for you. I hope that helped.